Welcome to your 2021 Mazda 3 Sport Turbo. Yes, I've had it before this year, but I'm doing a comparison video. It's my first one, and I have this and the Civic, and that video will be out in a couple of weeks. So I just wanted to get two identical competitors. This is the same generation. There are no changes from what my Mazda Canada rep tells me for 2022. And the reason I mention that is because the Civic hatchback I'm doing is the all-new generation for 2022. So I wanted to get re-familiarized with this, as it's been, I believe, 8 months since I've had one of these last. 3 different engine specs here for the Mazda 3 Sport for 2021. You get the base model, which gets you a 2-liter engine, horsepower and torque figures in the mid-ones. You bump up to the 2.5 non-turbo engine, and that gets you horsepower and torque figures evenly matched at 186. And then you get the 2.5 turbo, and if you put 87 octane in, then you get 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. You bump that up to 93 octane, and then that lifts you up to 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. So 3 different engine options, horsepower, torque, depending on what you want as far as power goes. Now, interestingly, the base, mid, and top trim, as far as the non-turbo engine, comes in automatic or manual. The highest, which is the 2.5 turbo, which is this with the all-wheel drive, does not come in manual. So 3 out of the 4 manual options, which is interesting. Just like Honda has all manual offerings, I'm going to leave this as the exception. But it's really good to see there's still manuals in everyday cars, and the Corolla hatchback also has it. So just to refresh on driving dynamics, it is so much fun to drive the Mazda 3, or the Mazda 3 Sport for that matter. I like the Sport better. Just personally speaking, I like hatchbacks over sedans. Specifically with the turbo engine, there's so much power, and the power to weight ratio is just so skewed toward the power side. I've driven the 2.5 non-turbo, and it does very well, but all this power on a beautifully built car, a well-balanced vehicle, the linear power is just unbelievable. Cornering, handling with ease, and I've had this for about a week and a half now, and it's been ideal on the roads as far as dry conditions. It's rained, it's snowed, it's been cold. It's been, I think, 4 or 5 degrees over a few days. So, you know, barring a ideal summer condition, I've had most of what Canadian winters have had to offer, and the 3 Turbo Sport just does it so well. Here's just a quick little display. I'm at, let's bring it down to 20, and I'll kind of just show you how much power this has. This is running on 93 octane, so I'm at 20 now. A little bit of lag, and there it goes. And it is just, it's there. I don't expect 0 lag, and any turbo still has to spool up, but it is just so much fun to drive. No issues getting on the highway. Opening up on the back roads is just so much fun, and again, twists and turns along Caledon's roads. It's one of my favorite luxury or non-luxury vehicles to drive, strictly for the driving dynamic side of it. Taking a quick look outside, again, nothing's changed since this generation launched a few years ago. Nothing's going to change next year, but it still carries that very minimalistic and sleek shape. And yes, I know people are still not entirely sold on there not being a third window in the rear. It just has that big, I guess it's kind of a blind spot, but if you use your mirrors and you know what's going on around you, you shouldn't have any blind spots in a car for that matter. But I can understand why people think that, well, whether it's unfinished or not quite what they're used to, it's a unique look. I like it. I liked it from the moment I saw it. I didn't have any qualms about it, and I still like it. You can look on the inside. This does have the red leather as far as the premium package goes. You can pretty much see it all over the place. It's on the dashboard, it's on the door panels, it's on the seats, it's on the headrest. It's just such a upscale look, and I've said this for at least a couple of years now. Mazda has moved away from the everyday brand, and because I feel they don't have a luxury division, they're creating their own specific place in the marketplace through a premium offering. Materials here are top-notch. It feels like a luxury vehicle, and if you cover up the Mazda logo on the steering wheel, and you put somebody who's not familiar with Mazda into the vehicle here right now, I feel that at least half of them would consider this an upscale luxury vehicle. One place where Mazda is a little lacking, and it's only because they haven't put out an all-new Mazda 3 yet, whereas Honda just put out their new generation of Civic, including the hatch. It's the infotainment, or not the infotainment, sorry, it's the dashboard. So yes, there's a big digital dial in the middle, but two big analog dials bookending those, whereas Honda has a huge digital screen, and I think Mazda is going to address that in the next update. But for what it is now, it's still easy to see. No issues pulling information out of it. The steering wheel controls are so thin and minimalistic, but yet they're easy to maneuver and pull all of your information out of. And it's an exercise in absolute class of design without making things look cluttered at all. The infotainment system, I love BMW's iDrive system because it's got the controller, the rotary controller, and I like how Mazda's done theirs. Very similar, very easy to use. It's their HMI interface, the human-machine interface, and it does well. I like the quirk of it not being completely symmetrical as far as a cassette rectangle goes. There's a part on the top left that flares up, and there's a part on the bottom right that flares down. And I think it's just a nice, cool look. My favorite part about the inside, before we wrap things up, is the HVAC system. It is so small, it's so minimalistic, and it's beautiful. It doesn't have this huge presence. It so beautifully flows in with the rest of the design just below the infotainment system. I've always liked the new way Mazda's done this. It's just so small, but everything's there. There's no compromises. Everything's been left out. There's no digging through the infotainment system to get to something that's not a hard touch button. I'm gonna wrap it up for the 2021 Mazda 3 Sport. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to get you answers as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to tell somebody about the channel who you think might be interested in what it is that I do. Until I see you again, be well, be healthy, be safe.